Okay, my name is Tyler Whitby. This is the Task B ACS ground. So this ground is all about what the plane needs for it to be legal to fly. So the acronym that we use is DIE, because if you don't have these, you die. RR, okay. So that stands for Documents, Inspections, Equipment. So the Documents acronym is the one that you're familiar with, is ARO, but I've seen it as Sparrow before. Okay, so, but we're going to start with ARO, okay? So that starts with the airworthiness certificate. The airworthiness certificate does not expire. And you're following with it? Mm-hmm. Okay, but it is invalid if any of these checks are out of date and they are necessary for the flight, okay? Next is the registration. The registration does expire after 84 calendar months, which I believe is 7 years, or any of the following. And this acronym is 30 FT DUC. Okay, 30 days after death, foreign registration. So if you register it in France, it's no longer registered here. Transfer of ownership, destroyed, U.S. citizenship revoked, or canceled by request. All pretty grisly ways. The most common way is 84 calendar months. Okay, next is the radio license. So if we're going international, the plane needs a radio license and one pilot on board needs a radio license. The POH and the weight and balance. This weight and balance is not the weight and balance that you do before every flight. It's the weight and balance and the POH. Okay, the placards are necessary. That is the deviation card and so forth. And the supplements are Form 337. They're supplemental type certificates. So if in a plane a G1000 does not come in the plane, I add the G1000s and it no longer conforms to its original type certificate and it changes the weight and balance, I'll have to get a Form 337. That is supplements. Okay. Next are the inspections. I use the acronym AV8s. I've also seen AAV8. There's no different. It's just where you put the S or where you put the A. Okay? So the first is annual. That comes every 12 calendar months and it must be done by an IA. He himself alone must start and complete the inspection, and that stands for Inspector Authorization. So there's AMPs, which are airframe and power plant mechanics, and there's IAs. So an AMP is like you have your master's, and an IA is like you have your PhD, okay? So a VOR check is every 30 days prior to IFR use. 100 hour, okay? So if the plane is used for hire, an AMP must sign it off. So anyone can do 100 hour, but it must be signed off by an AMP. A car mechanic can do it, I can do it, anyone can do it, but it must be signed off by an AMP. Okay, ADs, those break down into two categories, urgent and non-urgent. From the non-urgent category, that breaks down into recurring and non-recurring. Recurring means that you check it every so often, like a wing spar every 5,000 hours. Non-recurring means a one-time check. Okay, the transponder, you must check that every 24 calendar months, and where you need a transponder is class A, B, C, above 10,000 feet MSL, and 30 nautical miles away from Class B. So the acronym here is where do you need a transponder? ABC 1030, okay? The ELT, you must check it every 12 calendar months, full stop. It is not every 12 calendar months, 1 kilowatt hour, 50% of the battery. It's not true. The ELT check is done every 12 calendar months. When you replace the battery is when you use 1 kilowatt hour or 50% of battery life. The exceptions to when you can not have an ELT are found in 91207 Foxtrot. Okay, and the static encoding and altimeter system are checked every 24 calendar months. Okay, the last thing that we need is the equipment list, which is tomato flames and flaps for night. So during the day, we only need this acronym of tomato flames, and at night, we need both acronyms, tomato flames and flaps. And that stands for airspeed indicator, tachometer, oil pressure, manifold pressure, altimeter, temp gauge, oil temp gauge, fuel gauge. Fun fact, in Part 91, they legally only have to show you when it's full fuel, so don't trust them, okay? Landing gear indicator lights, anti-collision lights, magnetic direction indicator, ELT, seat belts. And for night, fuses/circuits, because we don't have fuses anymore, landing light, only one for hire, anti-collision lights, position lights, source of electricity. So we're going to talk about how to use this equipment list. So when you come over here and we're talking about how do we know if we're legal to fly when we have interoperative equipment? We check AC 9167, advisory circular. advisory circular. Okay, those are just information that is posted to us by the FAA. Okay, so it goes like this. This is our flow. Okay, first we check our MEL, minimum equipment list. We don't have them, and normally that's for the airlines. Then we have our KOEL, kinds of operation equipment list. We don't have those here. Okay, then you check your VFR day certificate. So you check your TCDS and you Google that. Okay, then you go to 91205, which is again over here. Then you check your ADs, and then it's up to pilot discretion. If you decide you can fly, you must placard it out. So I'm going to give you an example of how I would use this. So let's say my airspeed indicator is not working. First, I check my MEL. We don't have it. Then I check my KOEL. We don't have it. Okay. Then I Google my TCDS for the PA 28181. It's not on there. Then I check 91205. The airspeed indicator is on 91205. We are not legal to fly. So now I'm going to check and see if my seat tracks are inoperative, if I'm legal to fly. So again, we just go down the flow. MEL, don't have it. KOEL, don't have it. It's not on our TCDS. It's not in a tomato flame flaps. It's not in our ADs, so it's up to pilot discretion. Let's say I do decide that I can fly without them, even though that's stupid. I would just get a piece of tape, put it somewhere, and placard seat tracks inop. All right? Now we're going to talk about special flight permits. So the most common use of a special flight permit is, okay, so every 100 hours, right, for the 100-hour check, you get 10 hours over to fly to a repair station. So if you're at 100 hours and you land somewhere, you have 10 extra hours to fly directly to the repair station. Let's say I made an oopsie and I flew for 100, so now I'm at 110 hours, right? And I need to fly to a repair station. I must call the local FSDO so I can fly to a repair station. And then this acronym, FFORDD, are all the reasons I can get a special flight permit from the FSDO. Fly to repair station, flight test, overweight, removed from danger, demo flight, or delivery flight, okay? The next thing I'm going to talk about for Task B is SAIB, Special Airworthiness Information Bulletins. Those are prudent information that is not mandatory, and I've heard that those become ADs, but take that with a grain of salt. I don't know about that. Now, for pilot preventative maintenance, this is a huge long list that you don't want to memorize, so we just memorize where it is. And that's in Part 43, Appendix A, Part Charlie. And that's all Task B.